I'm here with the founder of this incredible event and two-time NWLA Commissioner of the Year, Chris Galloway from the Potomac Wiffle Ball League in our nation's capital. Thanks for joining me, Chris. And
glad to do it.
Yeah, thanks for having me out to this incredible event. Give me some of your thoughts just so far on the weekend.
Well, I think the overall thought I have on the weekend is wet.
I know, right?
It's a little bit annoying, but I feel like we're actually cruising along pretty well given the conditions that we're facing. We got one field that's about a half an hour behind, but everybody else is, and that's mostly my team's fault, sucking it up in the last inning. But I feel like we're in good shape, and hopefully, I think people are still having a good time and playing a lot of wiffle ball. And you get a little wet, you'll be okay.
Absolutely. Now, when I was first asked to be part of this amazing event, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I'd done a little bit of announcing for the SWBL, obviously, but this is a completely different ball game, quite honestly, literally and figuratively. Tell me a little bit, and you maybe want to keep it a secret, but honestly, how do you pull this off? It's very impressive.
Well, it just takes a lot of planning and a lot of organizing. The honest truth of it is that really this is the exact same thing we did last year. And so last year was the harder work because we found the people for the first time, and the vendors for the first time, and the logistics for the first time. This year it's kind of like, all right, we're just going to redo everything we did before and try to add some small new enhancements to bump it up. So, I'm an organizer by trade. It's kind of what I do, and kind of the logistics and setup and that kind of thing are in my wheelhouse. And
sure.
And now that we've done it, a couple times, I don't want to say it's like clockwork, it's hard work, but you know how you're going to do it. You know how long it's going to take to start the field. You know when what's going to happen. So.
You can plan for everything except for rain.
Well, that's right. We're even learning more stuff about the rain now.
Absolutely, yeah.
The different ways we should configure the cameras instead of the other way we did it, and that if we're going to do a 6 a.m. start, which I'm not necessarily opposed to doing, there's a couple things we need to do differently to handle the 6 a.m.
Free coffee, I would imagine.
Yeah, coffee and just we just there's always new logistics and new challenges when you try to do extra things.
And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is where, looking towards the future, you said yourself you're a planner. Where do you see the tournament going? What additions can you make maybe next year and maybe in 5 years? Where do you see this going?
Well, I really like the way this event works. I think, with 12 teams last year it was fine. I think with 16 teams this year, or 15 now, that we have a nice schedule, we have a nice tight way that we are building this tournament. I think your vision is to always grow and get bigger. I think I'm a quality guy over a quantity guy.
Sure.
I wouldn't mind having 50 teams in a tournament if we had 50 leagues that took it as seriously and were invested in it as the teams we have here.
Absolutely.
I'd much rather have 16 superly invested teams that come here and do this rather than just have 50 teams and any league that just shows up. So,
absolutely.
So I would like to, but that doesn't mean I don't want to expand. So I would like to find a way to grow the tournament with leagues that will take it as seriously as all the leagues that we have here, and be able to kind of keep it similar to what we've got here, the structure, the setup, and we could add 8 fields.
Sure.
But I don't want to do that.
Right.
Because you're going to sacrifice the quality that you get on 4 fields or 5 fields. So my vision is, let's figure out a way to keep the quality and expand more teams. Now, if one of those ways to do that is for us to have some qualifying rounds before you get here, and maybe we can include 30 leagues or 25 leagues in a round 1 in June in different places,
right.
And then these same winning teams come here, maybe that's the way to do it. So I don't,
The gears are always working there. I can tell you have plans. I can tell, without a doubt. And just speaking from experience, I can tell the new teams that have been invited here so far. I've just been watching them. All of them seem extremely enthusiastic. Everyone seems very pleased to be here. So I can see that quality of play just coming through in those new teams, and obviously the teams that have already been here before.
We really got lucky that first year, 2 years ago. It was only 8 teams. But those teams, and I didn't know most of those guys at the time.
Right.
I really didn't. I knew a couple. I was not great at the national wiffle ball scene.
Sure.
But they all ended up being teams that got what we were doing. They understood what this was about. They realized, this is, and they've come back, year after year, and I think are really good ambassadors and representatives what we're looking for. So we got a good culture to start with, and we've been able to keep adding on. And the new teams, again, there's new teams are going to have to adjust to the rules, but I think we got a good crop this year. This was the first year we had an application process, and we rejected a couple teams to keep the limit. But the guys so far have all impressed me that have showed up here. I know one of the teams had trouble getting enough humans, enough bodies, but that'll happen too. And last year Huntington struggled to get a team in their first season, but this year they're back with a vengeance. And they got a whole squad of good players, and it's so I look forward to seeing the same thing out of the steadily improvement.
Absolutely. Now we were speaking about the tournament, but just speaking about the sport in general. You continue to cement yourself as one of the biggest supporters in the country, probably the world, quite honestly. What is your favorite thing about the sport? Why are you so passionate about wiffle ball?
Well, it's hard to say. To me, wiffle ball is easier. I love baseball. I'm a baseball junkie. I'm a Nats season ticket holder. But wiffle ball is a lot easier to play. And an old fat guy like me can play wiffle ball and not have to worry about the confines of that. So we played wiffle ball in the backyard growing up. I like continuing that. I like running an organized league that I think puts on a good show and gives people some value and some benefits. So
absolutely. Well, we have that here. Now, on to your team, the PWL Nationals. In 2 years, I got to bring it up. Your team has yet to hit the 500 mark for a record, which is not great. But
well, despite not having the 500 record last season, we did finish in the top 16. So the pool play was disappointing for us, but we still ended up really overperforming in that.
Absolutely. But what do you think will need to happen for your team to make a more successful run in the tournament?
Well, it might be mathematically impossible at this point since we went 0-2 in our first 2 games. Lost 2 games that both were solid teams and played it well, but we got hit by that last minute come from behind slam of getting beat. This year we added, with the roster expansion, we added some more pitchers. We're a medium pitch league, so we're a little bit more of a disadvantage than other leagues because of the pitching style.
Sure.
But I don't know that we're in a 1 or 2 year path to winning this tournament. I think we're in a path and a projection now to improving and being better.
Sure.
And even in our league this year, for the first time, we did open tryouts for players because we've really found that the style of pitching here is so different that I can't look at my pitching stats and know that it's going to be apples to apples.
Sure. Now it's interesting to me that you guys back home you play a medium pitch style. Why would you do that? And then here at the national tournament, obviously it's no speed limit. I'm just curious. I've heard of teams adjusting their style completely to fit this tournament.
Yeah.
I heard of teams sticking to their own rules. I'm just curious what your thought process was on that.
Well, for my process of why we play medium pitch is I like offense. We like offense.
Sure.
We actually don't even have walks.
Okay.
So we're medium pitch, but we know walks. So we like to have hits. We like to have batting averages.
Who doesn't?
So that's just the style we like, and we really like it in our league. If people said, let's figure out a way to do a medium pitch tournament, I'd probably say the way we do it is probably the best way to do it. Now, there's still a lot of pros and cons to that, and a lot of downside to that. When Carl and I were really talking about this tournament initially, I felt like we had to coalesce around the rules that most of the leagues play. And there are some leagues that don't run the bases. There are some leagues that use the huge bats, not the traditional classic things. But I felt like, it's almost like we took a laundry list of the teams that were coming and said, majority do this, majority do this, majority do this.
Right.
The majority were fast pitch. I think fast pitch is the fair way to determine this, even though it's a disadvantage to us. My team and my league hate it. They complain about it every year. They're like, you do so much work in this tournament, why don't you just force everyone to change it? I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I think we're probably going to stick with this format, and we've had very few rules changes since season 1 here at this tournament, and I think it's great to make it remarkably consistent. Now, does that mean that I don't think it would be great if every league, from Skibby to WWL, adopted these rules as the rules they play with, and we came up with leagues that played these rules and had comparable stats in their own places and then came together for an all-star tournament? I think that would be fabulous.
Right.
I don't know that we can get there. I know everyone likes to play their own way, but I would love nothing more than to have a national tournament that's based on national rules that everybody uses. If everyone else did that, then PWL would go kicking and screaming, but we'd go there.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it'd be fun and interesting, but I don't know that we're there. I don't know that that's the next step.
Okay, all right. But maybe down the line. In a
Maybe down
perfect
the
world. Well, another what if question. If you could pick any corporate sponsor for this event, who would it be and why? Just curious.
Corporate sponsor. I mean, I guess the Wiffle Company, right?
Sure.
You have to go with the
You would think
folks
so.
that did it all. You know, I don't even think we're actually in the official good graces of Wiffle because we. My big problem with using the official Wiffle documentation is you have to make Wiffle ball 2 words, and every time we're in the newspaper, you know, the style book requires that Wiffle ball is 2 words. But I tell you what, I'm a baseball guy. You don't write baseball as 2 words.
No, you do not.
Baseball is 1 word. Wiffle ball is 1 word, and so
You heard it here,
that's how we
folks.
do
All
it.
right. I have a last question, and it's something that I've been asking everyone. Tell me something that makes the PWL different, something that we might not know from your website or just having talked to you. What makes your league unique?
Well, our #1 ranked website in the country.
Okay.
It definitely, I think, makes us unique. Our league is just. I guess the thing that makes us most unique, rules-wise or just difference-wise, is probably the radar that's built into our strike board that we use to enforce the medium pitch. I don't think even the leagues that enforce medium pitch don't really do it that way and have a reading.
No, yeah, I actually hadn't heard of that before.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it's a radar gun that's actually just mounted on our strike board that reads every pitch speed.
That's got to be nice. It takes the guesswork out of it. You don't have.
It's not an umpire. It's not an umpire decision that way.
Sure.
And much like here, we use paid umpires, paid scorekeepers throughout the season, so
Okay.
our stats are consistent. We have umpires, and I know most leagues don't do that. So that's probably the things that make us unique.
Absolutely. Pretty official there.
I like to say we were in a Washington Post feature story like 5 years ago, and one of the things that the reporter caught on to, and the quote that he used was, and I don't even remember saying it at the time, but he said, it's as official as I can possibly make it.
Okay.
And at the time, we were playing in a crappy little park, and I was mowing the grass, and it was just terrible.
Right.
But he kind of picked up. Like we used to, before we had the logo balls, we'd only use the balls out of the boxes, not
Okay,
the bags.
sure.
Baseballs come in boxes, not in bags, right? There's
Right,
no
sure.
difference in the ball.
No, of course not.
But
It was more official that
when
way.
you came to the Wiffle Ball League at PWL, you took three balls out of boxes to start your game.
Absolutely.
So it's those little things like that.
Okay.
I like to think it's as official as I can make it.
Absolutely. I can tell you take pride in that.
Well, we do.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, I'm really glad to be here, and thank you for joining me for this interview.
I'm glad to have you.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend, and I can't wait to see what happens with the rest of it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks.